The first day I met my client, Mark, in the first 5 minutes, he said something to me that made me say, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I feel like I could lose my job at any day. I could just lose it all." But you need to understand, I mean, before I'd even met Mark, I'd heard his reputation. This is a person who had been so successful that they promoted him faster than anyone had been promoted in years. He not only outperformed his peers, but some of the people at a level above him who had had many, many more years experience as he had. He was respected by senior people. He was respected by peers. He was sought out as a mentor and a guide to people, not only people that reported to him, but people who were just within the organization who looked up to him. Customers called him not just to do business, but when they had advice that they were seeking, they wanted to hear from him. And not only was he brilliant at work, but his life outside of work was equally successful and spectacular. And yet, here he was saying, "I think I could lose my job at any time." Well, I actually think that you, and I'll admit, I have a bit more in common with Mark than we realize, which is Mark, as a successful catalyst, has what I call the perfect trifecta of skills. And if we just tweak those skills a little bit, they can go from giving any catalyst great lift to crushing you. So to talk about them and, more importantly, how to understand them and what to do about them, let's go to the whiteboard. All right, in this video, we'll talk about the catalysts trifecta. First, let's talk about how they give you lift, because I want you to understand these special superpowers, these special skills and traits that you already possess so that you can leverage them more. And understand when you twist them just a little, how those very same skills can crush you. And then once you understand that, what do you do about it? Just as a general sense, and then I'll give you one specific idea so that as you understand it, you can spend a lot more time in the giving you lift section of the catalyst trifecta and a lot less time in the getting crushed by them. Okay, let's get started with what are those traits, the trifecta of traits that helps you as a catalyst be more successful and gives you lift. It's critical thinking, creative thinking, and fast thinking. So first, let's look at critical thinking. You can look at a problem when it's messy and gnarly and confusing to many, many people. And it may be at first confusing to you, but you have this way of methodically, or even not even knowing exactly how you do it, you can start to turn it into a problem that can be solved. And a problem statement, or frame it in such a way, or piece it out in such a way that actually now you can start to approach it. You're a great critical thinker. Second, you have creative thinking. So your creative thinking allows you, when you start to get into solutions, you can not only generate often more solutions, many more solutions than most people, but they're original solutions. They look different. They see it from a different perspective. Being creative doesn't just mean that you can paint or sculpt or sing. It also means that when it comes time to solve that problem, you can come up with more original, more imaginative solutions. That's what being a creative thinker does for you. And then, what a great cocktail already, but now combine it with fast thinking. Have you ever had the experience as a fast thinker that many times you've already gone through all of these steps and you're waiting for everybody to sort of catch up? It's like, okay. Now you have to wait because you can't run off on your own, but many times you are the fastest mind in the room. So what a great combination, a great cocktail of this trifecta. You're a critical thinker combined with a creative thinker combined with a fast thinker. Oh my gosh, what a gift. And you know this about yourself. All it takes is one little twist, and suddenly this trifecta becomes not your friend, but your foe. And so it has its dark side, if you will. And here's what that looks like. If you take your critical thinking and instead of looking at the problem or the situation, you start to turn it back on yourself. You begin to see things that don't work for you, things that aren't so great about you, things that you don't like, things that other people, remember, like Mark, might not appreciate about you. And then because you have creative thinking, you're a creative thinker, you also then can imagine many more problems than most people can about yourself, bigger than they really are, in new ways that no one else had ever imagined. The way you see those problems now, you make it, because of your creative mind, you make it bigger or somehow distort it in a way that's not realistic. And now let's add the third of the trifecta. Because you have a fast mind, you can take yourself in the ditch faster than anybody else if this is the path, if this negative path is the path you're going to go. So a great gift. we want you to have these skills. And if you're not paying attention, if you don't understand your thinking, you can take yourself in the ditch really fast with that very same trifecta, that cocktail effect of those 3 skills. So I think we've established that your thinking is amazing, that trifecta that makes you so successful. But here's a thought about your thoughts. This is something I learned from one of my teachers, an amazing teacher named Byron Katie. She likes to say, don't believe everything you think. I know the first time I heard her say that, like, it wouldn't compute. It gave me a headache to even try and think about it. Don't believe everything I think. Like, of course I'm going to believe everything I think. I thought it. But therein lies the problem. And let me give you a really simple example of what that might look like. So this is an introduction to something that you already know how to do. They call it mindfulness. I know I used to get freaked out about the idea of what is mindfulness? It sounded like such a scary thing. It's really simple. And so in order to figure it out for myself, I had to simplify it. And let me share it with you in my Midwestern farm boy speak. So there's you. It's the part of you that's always paying attention. It's what hears every thought, notices your feelings, or doesn't notice them, but it's always paying attention. It knows how your body feels. And it even remembers your dreams. You know, it's just paying attention all the time. Okay, and then in addition to that part of you that's always paying attention, that's always there are your thoughts and feelings. And they occupy the same space. So here's where the problem begins. Because they do occupy the same space, we believe that they are the same thing. And there's a guy named Descartes who, no fault of his, he was the voice of the time, but hundreds of years ago he told us, I think, therefore I am. He was doing us no favors because not only did he imply that, our thoughts came first, that we were nothing without our thoughts. We were our thoughts. So that it was that. But here is a more powerful interpretation that will keep you spending more time here and less time here, which is, yes, my self, my awareness, my attention, and my thoughts and feelings do occupy the same space, but they're not the same thing. So let's represent that this way. Yep, right up against each other, but not the same thing. And now that I know that, I have a new move I can make, which is I can begin to, with my awareness and attention, start to create some space for my thoughts and feelings and actually start to pay attention to them, to not be a part of them, to actually watch what's happening. And once I've got that, now I can make some different choices. If I'm like this and my thoughts and feelings go over here, well, my attention has to go with it. My stories about it will go with it. My feelings will go with it because I went this way. If it goes this way, then I have to go this way with it. But if I recognize that they're separate, my thoughts and feelings can go all over the place and I can watch. That's what Byron Katie meant by don't believe everything you think. She was actually recognizing that, yeah, there are your thoughts, but you don't have to follow them everywhere. You don't have to believe everything because you and I are not our thoughts. But that day that I was talking to Mark, he had forgotten. And I'm guessing that you sometimes do too. So do I. So now that we have this general idea of mindfulness, there's your awareness and your thoughts and feelings, let's get a little bit more specific. And I'm going to share with you something just at a high level that Byron Katie teaches. I'm not certified as to teach her work, so I'm just going to introduce you to it and point you to the resources that she provides because I've found her work profound. Her idea is that anytime you feel a stressful thought, like when you go in the ditch, it's because you're believing a thought or a belief that you have and you haven't questioned it yet. You're believing, as she says, don't believe everything you think. And in that moment, the reason you're feeling stressed or unhappy or whatever it is because you're believing what you think. And you may have never thought before of questioning your thoughts, but that's what she says the pathway is. She calls it inquiry, to question your thoughts. And so let's dig a little bit into what that would look like for you. So what I'm going to share with you right now is what I actually shared with Mark after I'd earned his trust. Not that first day because we were first getting to know each other, but what I shared with him is what I want to share with you, which is something I learned from Byron Katie. And in order to have it be effective for you, I'm going to ask you to think about a specific situation where you're feeling stress or unhappy or worried or anxiety, something that's not feeling so great. Okay? So it could be a thought about a person. It could be that person's untrustworthy, or this person is unethical, or I can't count on this person, or this person is always late and it causes me problems. Whatever it is, just find a thought about someone or something, or a belief about the world in general, but how it affects you in a specific situation. Oh my gosh, if that were to happen, the world will come to an end. A lot of people are worried about politics right now. So maybe you have a thought about politics. Doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right. Just, what's your thought about politics? You might have a belief about, whoa, what's happening now with the pandemic, where we are on the stage, about something in the world, about the school that your kid attends. It could be anything, a belief, just something that gives you stress. And see if you can turn that into one sentence. And then I'll share with you what Byron Katie would suggest that you do, which is to ask yourself 2 simple questions. She actually has a list of questions that you'll learn as I share with you her resources. But the first question is, if you think about that statement that's causing you so much stress, the first question to ask yourself is, put yourself in the best place and ask yourself, what's that statement? And then ask, is it true? And the only answer you could give yourself is yes or no. That's not, well, sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. Well, let me tell you why it's true. No, yes or no. Is that belief that you have right now, or that judgment that you have about someone else, is it true? It's okay if the answer is yes. Just be honest with yourself. And then the second question is are you absolutely certain that that thought that you're having, or that belief that you about that person, or that belief that you have about the situation, in this specific situation, can you absolutely know that that's true? And we never ask ourselves, we never think about believing or not believing what we think. But that's the process that I'm starting to introduce you to. It's mindfulness. It's you, the awareness of you, looking at your thoughts and feelings and just saying, these aren't me, and am I going to buy these or not? Because if you buy them every time, if they go up here, you go with it. If they go down here, you go with it. All that she calls this process inquiry, or the work. What the work helps you do is to begin to uncouple that it takes me everywhere to this can be going all over the place, and I can just watch it. And when you have that, if your trifecta of skills starts to go in that direction, you don't have to believe it. Is it true? Can I absolutely know that's true? Now, if you're brand new to this approach, you still may be scratching your head like, I'm not sure if I buy that or not, or this seems overly simplistic. Yeah, it is overly simplistic, or at least in my words, elegant. That's one of the reasons why I appreciate the work of Byron Katie so much. But I wanted to introduce you to it now as one move, not all moves of mindfulness. You practice mindfulness now already when you self-coach, when you have conversations with yourself. You're already mindful, but I'm trying to give you something new that you can start to put to use and give you a resource that you can go so deep with that it can literally change your entire inner disposition. It's worked for me and for other people that have done the work and that I've shared it with. Because of the people that I work with, I run into a lot of people who are highly stressed, often unhappy, even though they're pretty darn successful people. And so I found this work of what I generally call resilience work, something that I have had to go deep on, in part because I had to learn it for myself. I even lead programs, one called Mind to Win, to help people build that resilience. But what I'd like to point you to is the great work of Byron Katie. She has a website that I want to send you to if you'd like. It's called The Work, all one word, thework.org, and you can find all sorts of resources there. And then I'd like to point you also to her book. She's written a number, but probably the best book to start with if you're open to this, simply not believing everything you think. It's called Loving What Is. And I actually like it best on the audio form because then you can hear the tone of her voice. She's taken herself using inquiry to a place where she's one of the happiest people I've ever met. And then secondly, you'll see her coaching using not only those first 2 questions, is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? But a number of other questions that complete what she calls the work or the inquiry process, and start to see if people who were suffering greatly at the beginning of a conversation take it to a very different place through the inquiry that she led them through. And hearing it live in an audible version, I find is just much more effective and sticks with you longer than if you try to read the transcript. So I wanted to introduce this to you today. Yes, you have this trifecta that can give you great lift. And at the same time, if you believe everything you think, it can crush you. The solution to that in general is mindfulness, recognizing that there's your awareness and then there are thoughts and feelings. They occupy the same space, but they are not the same, and you can create that distance. And then one of the, by far, most effective tools I found to do this, I actually rely on her work with all of my clients, is the work of Byron Katie, Inquiry, thework.org, or Loving What Is. Thanks for letting me share this. I hope this helps you find more resilience, find more happiness, find more power and peace in your life, and I can't wait to hear how you put it to use. I'll see you in the next video.